Samira from sacredsoulpractice.com. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for your patience. I am feeling better, finally. I've been fighting through some germs and things, but I'm feeling better. And I'm so grateful to be back with you as we dive into day 14 of 30 days of safe trauma practice. Today, we're going to talk briefly about grounding into safety. Let me know when you pop on how you're doing today, how you're feeling, where you're from. If you're on the replay, hashtag replay. I am so happy to be here with you today. So let's get to it. If you've been following me on my personal page, you know that my kiddo has had her camp chronicles. So we're going to breeze through this so that I can go um, get her from camp. So let's do it. When we talk about grounding into safety, notice what that brings up for you. Does grounding feel tricky for you? Does the idea of doing it feel like a chore? Just notice what comes up. And let's just notice how you're feeling for a moment in your body. I invite you to just drop in for a moment, notice your breath. When we talk about grounding, sometimes we think it has to be big and expansive, and it can be that, but it also can be simple and easy. And so, this is a quick practice that I do often with clients, with myself every single day. Just notice your breath. And in noticing your breath, you do not need to change it, simply notice it. Notice your heart beating. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it steady? Notice how you're feeling in your body without judgment. There might be aches or pain, anxiety, frustration. It's all welcome. It can all be welcome. And I encourage you to drop in to your heart. You might place a hand on your heart and you might simply notice how you're feeling in your heart. Our heart is one of the most powerful energy centers that we have in our body. It can transmute anything, anything. And when we drop into it, we really come back to our place of center within ourselves. From this place within your heart, simply ground into the present moment right here where your feet are. It's important as we claim our presence to practice being where our feet are. Where your feet are, that's where your power is. That's your point of presence. So ground into that. Take a breath, breathe into your heart, knowing at any moment and any day, you can place a hand on your heart, one on your belly, and just take a breath in through your heart center. And that really can ground you into the present moment. This can be like a 15, 30-second grounding practice that you do at any point. It can be really supportive in just grounding you and bringing your those that you work with into just a grounding experience. And so grounding is simply coming back to your center. It's coming back to your body. We so we so often are scattered. Not even like on purpose, just like that's what happened. So much energy comes in, so many things are happening. We're going like at a fast speed in life. Most of us are doing so many different things, right? And all of everything has energy. Everything has energy. And so we become like this ball of energy. And when we are not necessarily grounding it, clearing it, coming back into our own energy, releasing what is not ours, when we don't have these practices and tools in place, we can often feel scattered. We can often feel like a chicken with our head cut off, right? We can often feel just so all over the place. And part of coming back into center is one of the fastest ways to bring presence and grounding into our nervous system. Doing it with someone else, so doing this work with your client, is one of the fastest ways to help create attunement for them, which drastically, exponentially, um, really catapult their result, right? That attunement often is what we're paying for when we're working with someone. A lot of what we do with people, they could do on their own. They could read a book, right? It's not like this is like things that have never been thought of before. Part of it is the strategy, right? And the other part is that connection, that nurture, that attunement. And together is the secret sauce. The together is how you're getting to the place you want to be faster, right? So when we come back into our body, into our center, we are, as a result, moving out of fight and flight and freeze and fawn, out of these nervous system responses, just by coming back into our center. So for so long, I tried for myself and with my client, right? Like 10 years ago, um, maybe 12, I tried to help them turn off fight and flight and freeze and fawn, and it would work for a short period of time. And then they'd be back to it. And I was like, okay, what's the missing link here? And that led me on my journey of really understanding, how do I support people in coming back to this place within themselves over and over again? How can they create this practice for themselves where they can come back to their center consistently, to the point where it becomes a way of life, a muscle? And by doing that, imagine if you are an adult like me, I'll say, and you remember like the dials in your car, the actual dial where you turn the music volume up and down. Think about that dial in terms of, you can turn up the dial of grounding and regulation. And by doing that, that equal opposite turns down the nervous system responses that we don't like. So the trauma responses, the flight, the fight, the freeze, the fawn. We don't have to work on turning these down or off. We simply need to turn up the grounding and the regulation. And by proxy, what we're not wanting turns down. That's the same analogy for life. Turn up what's working, and by doing that, it turns down what's not working. We often try to just turn down what's not working, and it can feel counterintuitive because that's like trying to swim upstream. The downstream path of least resistance is always going to be turn up what is working. In our relationship, praise what's working. In our parenting, praise our kids for what they're doing right. In our partnerships, lead with what's working, appreciation, things that are going well, what you appreciate about the person, even yourself. In our own self healing journey, self love journey, reparenting journey, when we turn up what we're proud of about ourselves, what's working well within ourselves, and when we praise that, we automatically quiet what's not working. right? So that's a mini lesson there for you that can really exponentially like grow your results faster. So when we think about bringing in regulation, all that means is we're bringing in like soothing, we're bringing in a healthy homeostasis for our nervous system. Our nervous system is set in whatever our blueprint was growing up, good, bad, or indifferent. If what our results are we don't like, that's going to encourage us to bring in um, a new create a new homeostasis. So we're going to have to consciously create what we want our baseline to be if we're not loving the current baseline, and that's with anything. And so in doing that, what you're really doing is returning to the wholeness that you were born with, that life simply disrupted, right? Life is the real teacher. And so when we have these experiences in our life that are unpleasant, less than great, right? Even traumatic, it upsets the rhythm, the natural rhythms. And so much of healing, returning to wholeness, is bringing back in those natural rhythms, taking all of the dirt and sand and crap that's been on top of those grounded, present, um, rooted, worthy rhythms and uncovering them so that we can get back to wholeness, right? Remember, the root word of heal is whole, it's wholeness. So healing simply means returning to wholeness. It's within you already. Returning to it is the path. And so, why is it important? It's so important because that's the secret sauce of getting the result that you want. The whatever you're not liking in your life, in your work, in your dynamic with clients, in your dynamic with the work that you're doing, in not being able to get started in doing the work that you're doing, in self-sabotaging what you're doing, whatever pattern you don't like, the the secret sauce of shifting it is grounding, bringing in regulation, being where your feet are, and learning and doubling down in doing the sacred work, the sacred soul work of leading yourself, teaching, growing, transforming, being with that place of wholeness within you and extending that outward. So often we're trying to fix and oftentimes manipulate and orchestrate the result that we want instead of coming back into our place of wholeness and creating from that place, which means meeting our own resistance, which means meeting our own self sabotage, which means meeting the parts of ourself that are scared of change, transformation. So they sabotage our efforts in order to keep us small, to keep us in this place of like shrinking, sabotaging, just like a rabbit hole of dysfunction, right? Trauma drama, I call it. When wanting to move out of that, the clearest path forward is just to turn into that grounded presence within ourselves, to drop in every day when we don't feel like it, when we think we don't have time, when life feels too crazy, coming back to it again and again and again until that's the place where you lead from, where you learn from, where you love from, where you take action from. When that becomes the place, all of your results change, everything shifts, and you're able to drop into that grounded presence. There is a way to do this. There are several approaches to help you with this. There's a real art to it, and we go deep into that in the program that we'll be sharing about very soon, Safe Trauma Practice, where we really make those tools feel like home. So we just keep visiting them every day. We teach them to our clients, to our audiences. We actually just make it a way of life. When it becomes a way of life, that's the place that you lead from. When we lead from wholeness, rather than woundedness is when we create the exact results that we deeply want, right? That is the magic. Creating from wholeness rather than woundedness. And it isn't like a once and done. This is a pattern. It's a rhythm. It's a flow, and it happens over a lifetime. So it's not this like, 7 ways to get this thing done in 7 days, not that gimmicky kind of stuff, right? It's really like, how do I drop into my own practice? How do I dive deep? How do I create the rhythm in my life that really supports this practice that I am creating for my life? It's rooted in my values, what I believe is important, what is important to me, right? So whether it's like faith, integrity, trauma informed care, love, community, connection, belonging, whatever values you really hold deeply, you can create your practice around that, even in how you're wanting to grow your work and grow your business, and do all the things. There's a spirit in which you create that. And so that's what you're sending out. That's what you're getting back. There's an art to doing that. And we're going to go deep into those ways and that art in the program. But for today, if you simply start with making grounding a part of your daily practice, if you simply bring this into your work with your clients and really work to like deepen it, to make it more of an anchor that's tried and true and proven, that you can come back to time and time again, you will change your life. You will change the way that you work. You will change your relationship with grounded presence and grounded awareness, and it will become a real constant, right, in your life, kind of like your breath. You don't always think about your breath, but it's always there, thankfully. We can always depend on it. We can bring gratitude to it, and we can really ground into it and make it a conscious practice. That's the same way with grounding. It's one of the pillars in trauma recovery. It's one of the pillars in nervous system regulation. It's one of the pillars in really coming back into your body and developing a healthier relationship with your body, with mind body connection, coming back into that grounded awareness, one step at a time with baby steps, really is the path towards living from a place of wholeness, teaching from that place, leading from that place, loving from that place, really anchoring into that as a way of life for you. When you are able to lean into that, so much can change in positive ways. So much flow can come in, and you can really feel like you're anchored. And so that's what so many of us want, right? It's what I wanted for a long time. So I understand if that's where you are. You can get there. You will get there if you stay the path and keep continuing to drop back into groundedness. I pray this was helpful. I'd love to hear your takeaways. How are you with grounding? Does it feel natural for you? Does it feel awkward? I'd love to hear um, how that is for you. How do your clients resonate with it? Are you shy about doing this kind of work with your clients in session, with your communities? I'd love to support you with that, um, and see how I can curate the content to support you around that. And what was I going to say? I will be back tomorrow for day 15. We'll be back at it. Thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers and messages of get well soon. They were so appreciated. I would love to hear what you're taking away from today. What's one thing that you would like to really go deeper with around grounding and making that more of a practice or a ritual? And if you are, how can you go deeper with it? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And I will circle back and check out the comments after I pick up the princess from camp. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. If today was helpful, I'd love it if you shared it with your communities so that it can support them as well. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful day. I love you so much. Thank you for being here.